All right, so tell me the Shadow and Mark are fixing the cat story at the
Okay.
hospital, wasn't it?
Yes, funny story. I walked into a group of my employees' office and always checked on them and stuff and said, "Oh, guess what?" I said, "Mark and Shadow watched a YouTube video on how to fix a cat and they fixed it." And I turned around to pure looks of horror, and a doctor had popped his head in and he said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, they watched the video on how to fix the cat and they fixed it." And everyone was just staring at me. I was like, "The tractor?" And they're like, "Oh, we thought you meant your cat, like as in an animal fur."
So what lessons did we learn on the other side that we're going to do here?
We're gonna do here.
Like, so how are we going to do this side different? We're going to sling this part when we
Put it back together so we can rotate
so
it.
we can kind of
Get the
shuffle it
holes
around.
lined up.
The jacking worked out okay, about a 1/4 inch off the ground.
Yep. No reason to be higher than what you have.
Just basically should be pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Now that we've done it.
Matter of doing it.
And so, what do we think we can do this? Turn it in 3,
I doubt it.
4 hours.
Maybe 4.
4 hours. All right. Good deal. Well, that went pretty good.
Mark it off the list.
Mark it off the list. Well, we just got a retention. We'll
Fill
fill
with
her,
oil.
fill her with oil and then
New
retention.
filters. Bleed the brakes on both sides first. Retention.
And then,
Side shoe.
yeah, do any kind of calibrations and such, and not bad. We what time did you get here? What time did you get here? 5:30. So the more or less the tracks
and bogies.
on,
Placed 8 bogies.
and yeah. So bogies are these smaller wheels. We put 8 new ones on, and we rotated some around. Got them on. Got the tracks are not as hard to get on and off as I thought. You know what?
You got a skid steer, it's no problem.
So
Or
yeah.
forklift will work.
So good deal. We are.
We're about 5 on.
We're about ready to
throw them on there by hand.
see if we can do this. See if she'll run then for us. We hope. Okay. This morning here, Saturday morning, we put the hydraulic oil in.
Yep.
Right. All right. And then take me through the next couple steps. We just
On the bottom of the rear end, there's 2 little bitty Allen head plugs. You pull them loose. If
On
you've
each?
had a contamination in the brake system
Okay.
or the steering clutch system, you pull them out and you pump the brake pedals, and it will flush the lines out.
And what'd you see when that happened?
We had black nasty oil, which probably had clutch material or contaminants in it. Flush that out. You put those back in.
Okay.
And then you have to open the bleeders on top, just like a regular brake bleeder.
Okay.
You keep bleeding until all the air comes out.
And you put a hose on top of that to go down into
so
a
we didn't
bucket.
make as big of a mess on top of the tractor.
Okay. All right.
And now we have wonderful brakes.
And I, like I told you, this is the first time I ever not had a soft pedal.
Yeah.
It stopped.
Now this, we may have to go and rebleed it in 100 hours.
Okay.
After all the air works out of the system. But we know what it should feel like now too.
So what's the next step?
We got tension tracks.
Tension tracks. This ought to be interesting. So we'll see how this goes. So this end of the hose, hydraulic hose, is a special end. Snaps on there.
Yep.
And then
That's the incoming valve.
that's the valve. We open that valve up.
And this one here is your air bleed valve.
Air bleed
and
valve.
we'll open it at the same time
Okay.
in case there's any air in our hose.
And then the other end of the hose is just simply a regular coupler. And we're going to the number 2
Book says the left side.
left.
Why?
Number 2 left. It's hard to do it one-handed. Now, you might wonder why we were going so slow, why wasn't I moving? Well, we weren't really sure what would happen when we started to steer. If you've ever driven one of these tractors, it's interesting when you go from forward to reverse because the steering changes. And so we wanted to play it cautious because we really didn't know what was going to happen. That's why we kind of tinkered. And I cut out a lot of time of me sitting there. But anyways, that's why we moved so slow. Other than my dad that kept going back in front of the camera. studying. One of the little known facts, sometimes you have to sit down and think it over.
Front idler, 33.
So we're gonna try to align the tracks. Number one with some set screws up front. Show you about that hopefully later. Align both tracks. Right now this track is tight over here, this one. As you look down in here, these lugs are sitting up to one side or the other. So we're gonna try to get them lined back out, and then through what shadows are reading, we take a temperature gun, and to fine tune it then, we would take a temperature, like for example down there, inside on this wheel versus this wheel, and they should be within 40 degrees difference. Seems like a lot. So we're gonna do that first, get the tracks tracking correctly. Then we're going to adjust in the cab, the computer, on calibration of the steering itself. We need a straight little spot, then we think we've got one down there that'll work. And after we get that done, then we're gonna recalibrate the transmission on this. And then we're gonna let Dad drive it up and down a gravel road for several hours and see what we see or what we don't see. Hopefully it looks to us, and I think Shadow is right on, this right side clutch was the one that was bad. Oh, we know it's bad, it was bad. So the combination of it and the PTO, hopefully we get it cleaned out with a couple sets of filters, we'll be good to go. So Shadow is adjusting the track alignment, and we go a little bit down the road, then we check. We go a little bit down the road, we check, and you just keep. Now, so like what he explained was, it's like a bandsaw, or a bandsaw, no, it's a sander, belt sander. And on that belt sander at school, we used to have to adjust a little screw to get the belt to run true. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm gonna try to shine up the old cat. One of the things I've found, I'm still learning on this. Folks told me that this stuff helps on plastic, and most of the newer equipment is plastic. And so it's hard to get it to shine back to new life. We're trying. We are trying. Let me show you a spot over here that's, we've done a couple different things. Right here, I just sprayed it on again. We had buffed some down in here, and it's a little dull, but if you look up here, I just sprayed that on and let it set. Man, it looks sharp. But I'm still learning on that. Still learning, still growing. Come grow with us. All right, so we're in the cat. Dad drove it the other day, tested it out pretty good. We got some brush to kind of move around, some dirt. It's getting ready to rain up there ahead, as you can see, but she's all shined up. I know this is overkill, but we got this little box blade. Now I'll go drag around the little dirt just to see how it does, but so far, okay. We're really hoping that we can get enough hours on it. We'll know before we have to start spring tillage and planting. That's our goal. But so far, Lord has blessed us, and it's moving. It's moving. So we're very grateful for that. Very thankful. I bought the tractor because we'd grown a little. I was still teaching school, and so I bought this tractor. Dad and I had always been big on compaction and trying to reduce compaction, and this was one of the ways. Tractor, as Dylan says, it's a cat tractor. It cracks me up. You can say, I need to get him to say that. Anyways, so the great thing about it is it did do that, and also it allowed him to be on the tractor longer because it's in the field. It's wonderful. Now, it's not so great on the road, but in the field it's wonderful. And so there we have it. So last spring we had some trouble. No, it was even farther than that. It would be the fall of 2019. Shadow had some trouble. We were using the chisel plow, this ripper with this tractor, and it was having trouble. It was bypassing the end. The air coat was coming up and it was bypassing. And we thought it was because it was so cold. Once it warmed up, it was fine, blah, blah, blah. Went to the spring. Gene started having some trouble late. We were almost done, so we just kept changing filters in order to get by. Went to the next fall, same thing. I changed the filters. Okay, it's not good. We finally give up and we parked it. So much so that I even had put it up for sale. And I would appreciate those folks that helped out and given suggestions. The guy from Ohio, he had quite a bit of help to me. And I appreciate it. So that led to us working on the tractor. Sometimes we are blessed and we don't even know it. And so God has blessed us very much by just digging in and finding out what's happening. And as you may hear this time and time again, Shadow says it's just bolts and nuts. They're great big bolts, a lot of them. But join us for this project. A lot of, I had a few sleepless nights, I'll have to tell you. So, join us.
Like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. Ask your questions so we can all learn together. Come and grow with us.